Well, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Adrian Reed, and a very warm welcome to this evening's BA Community webinar. I'm really pleased to say that we have Almudena Rodriguez Pardo with us, who is going to be talking about a topic that I'm sure is on many of our lists of things to find out about, or indeed lists of things that we're currently working with. And it's an area that I think it's fair to say does attract some controversy, particularly if you read any LinkedIn articles or any of the sort of blogs out there. So we're going to be talking about the Scaled Agile Framework, or SAFE as it's sometimes known. So I'm really pleased that Almudena is able to join us. And just before we start, I'll give a very brief intro. So Almudena has a strong technical background with 22 years in the telecommunications sector, spanning roles including developer, quality coordinator, and support engineer, which gives us really a 360-degree view of organizational change. And in fact, just in the lead up to the webinar, we were discussing how all organizational change is people related. Even if people think there's a technical problem, it's probably a people problem there, or a people challenge there somewhere. She's an international speaker and partner at the international company Rodriguez Pardo and Associates, working as a business agility consultant and agile expert, supporting organizations worldwide in their way to agility and DevOps deployment. So with a presentation entitled The Scaled Agile Framework, Bloated Bureaucracy, or an Enabler for Business Agility, over to you.
Thank you very much, Adrian. And thank you very much for having this opportunity to speak to this community. I'm really very happy about this. My plans are to speak like about 20 minutes to give a brief introduction, to give a very brief overview. We don't have the time to go really deep into SAFE within this short time frame. And then I will really open up for questions. And of course, if you want some detailed information, I will give it. Otherwise, I'm trying to give you a feeling. And this is going to be more about this why SAFE and why not than really explaining the framework. So I'm going to share a couple of slides, if it's okay for everybody. And so that will be now here, where I'm going to go into it. And that should be now. Yeah, is this okay?
Yeah, that works.
Perfect. So, short about my person. Thank you very much for the introduction. As already Adrian said, I come from the telecommunications, although I am coaching companies all over the world in very different sectors. I've been working with banks, with retailers, with small startups, and with huge international companies. So I have in the last 3 years consulted all sorts of sectors and also given trainings in agile methodologies. I have several certifications, and I always like to say I'm not only SAFE certified, I'm also large-scale Scrum practitioner, because I like to have a very wide toolbox when I'm trying to support my customers. So maybe my most important thing about SAFE is that I'm not only SAFE consultant. I really like SAFE, but I think any agile business consultant has to have a wide toolbox. To warm up, I have here a LinkedIn article. I didn't want to ruin anybody's career, so I took the name of the person who published it away. And yeah, this came up in LinkedIn like 6 months ago. I don't need to read it. You can see it by yourself, but it's really impressive how many emotions Scaled Agile Framework wakes up. I mean, if we consider that working methodologies are one of the most boring things you can think of, it's really impressive that it can wake up emotions. So it is unhealthy, it's a cancer, a parasite, and it's only for dinosaurs, which should be extinct anyway. So really nothing's missing. On the other hand, on the other extreme, if we take the State of Agile report. For the ones who are not familiar with the State of Agile report, the tool version 1 is making once a year a survey worldwide in several IT companies, and they have been doing this for 13 years. And then this gives this report a lot of value, because we can see over 13 years the evolution with the same methodology for the survey, the evolution of agile methodologies around. So it is already quite valuable because of this 13 years going on. And in the last survey published last April, this was the data we got from scaling agile methods. So if you see here, considering that don't know, which is really impressive, how many people don't know how they are scaling, that will make me very afraid. But and considering that Scrum of Scrum is something you mostly do for around 100 people, it's really Scaled Agile Framework by farthest the most applied framework worldwide for scaling agility. So we see very extreme situations about the hate and the passion which Scaled Agile Framework awakes. No? I'm going to step 2 steps back. So we're going to arrive to SAFE from another direction. Digital transformation, I very much assume I'm telling you nothing new. The biggest hype now worldwide is digital transformation. Everybody's going towards digitalization. At this point, I get a bit provocative and I say, okay, we go into a company, whichever process they have, and then we digitalize them. Everybody gets a laptop, the most better technology, hyper internet connections. But what have we done with so many digitalizations? We have introduced the technology from the 21st century, but we stick the process of the 20th century with the management mindset of the 19th century. So we have quite a mismatch between management styles, processes, and technology. So a digitalization, for most of the cases, is not enough. There's something else missing. And at this point, I really like this publication from Forbes, from the magazine in 2017. They had this article about organizational agility. That is what we are heading for. So it is about achieving greater agility. Digital disruption has one very special issue that affects every sector. For the first time, Industry 4.0, the difference to Industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 is that affects any sector. Everybody is now in the IT area. And there's a lot of confusion. So what we have to do is achieve greater agility. And what's really beautiful in this text is it clearly says it's not just a process or a methodology. No process is going to solve your problem. It is more of an ability, a mindset. Adjusting strategies, empowering employees, respond to ambiguity, and view unanticipated change. It's a mindset and not a process what we're heading for. Now, how do we face organizational agility? It all started 1995 with Scrum. We came up with a methodology where 9 people with 3 roles, 5 ceremonies, and 3 artifacts were created in small interactions of work and giving a product increment to the customer or to the proxy. And that was an excellent improvement in the way we were working. We already introduced cross-functional teams supported by a complete new role called the Scrum Master. So that created a huge improvement in the IT development. But by these Scrum teams or Kanban teams or Agile teams, as we might call them, we were creating a local improvement of the complete process, or let's say even project. We were agilizing the waterfall. We still had requirements going on for 6 months, and we still had problems to put into production for the next 6 months. So we had a local optimization in development and testing. It was already quite good. For about 10 years, from 2000 to 2010, we were doing this all over the place. So we ran into companies with islands of agility and islands. Oh, that's the department doing Scrum. Yeah, that's the department doing Kanban. And what are you guys doing? No, no, we are not Agile. We don't do any IT. So we're facing these situations. So we realized we didn't want more step forward. And here we have Dean Leffingwell, who is the creator of SAFe, where he says, apart from the fact that agility is not an option, I mean, I still run into some forums where agility will be discussed when I say, guys, are we still that far? So agility is not an option, but it's not just for teams. It's about a lean enterprise, what we're heading for, a complete enterprise agility or organizational agility, what we need now. And this all started somewhere around 2011, where we realized we need more. Scrum teams are not enough. And here comes SAFe. That is the official definition of SAFe. One of the several possibilities to scale the agility of your company to enterprise agility, it's a Scaled Agile Framework. Scaled Agile Framework defines itself as a knowledge base of proven integrated principles, practices, and competencies. Proven because we have already many companies, many big enterprises, which are running it successfully. So that is one of the points. We already have success stories. And it's a bunch of principles, practice, and competencies based on lean and agile. And that is really very important with SAFe. If you don't have lean and agile in place, it's not safe. A Scaled Agile Framework is open source. If you go to this link here, www.scaledagileFramework.com, you will run into the following graphic, and you can click any word on it, and you will have all the information you might want. So you don't need to visit the course to know about SAFe. You can go to the webpage and find whatever information you might want. It is open source. When you look at this graphic, the first time I saw it, I also had, I got sort of said, oh my God, what's this here? No? So fundamental agilists say that is not agile. I'll say, why? It's funny that for Scrum, being only a group of 8 people, we accepted 3 roles, 3 artifacts, and 5 ceremonies. Quite a lot of overhead. And for a company with 100,000 people, we don't accept more roles. But we'll get into the discussion a bit later. So this is the first impression you got from SAFe, complex, because it's for very complex companies. Think of a company like Airbus. Putting an airplane together is not an easy thing. Now, first, try to bring the complete company towards agility. You do need some structure. If you have a startup in a garage, I will say, don't do SAFe. So it is a solution. It's not a solution, and this is a very important point. It really much depends which problem we're trying to solve. Some of the many companies introducing SAFe. We also have a lot of American governmental institutions running SAFe. We have a lot of traditional organizations, or like the German railways, the Deutsche Bahn, the DB, or the employment office in France, or the Dutch tax administration. So those are very traditional organizations. We struggle to move into an agile setup. For these organizations, SAFe has been a solution, which doesn't mean it has to be improved all over the place. So I always say, which is the problem you are trying to solve? That is the point we have to face, not do I need SAFe or not? Because now that's another very important slide. This is an excellent slide, and it's also a dangerous slide. Because, everything here is truth. So it is proven out of the measurements we have done in several companies running SAFe, and you can see that all also published in these case studies. But we have had a situation in companies where management or executives saw this slide and they said, oh, yes, I want SAFe. Please buy me some courses, make a SAFe project introduction, and keep going. Whether first proving is that what we need? Is this going to solve our problem? Maybe we have a different problem. Do we have a Scrum in place? Do we have the basis we require to put SAFe in place? Because rule number one of scaling agility, if you don't need to scale, don't. So don't scale anything you don't need to. I have companies coming up to me and say, oh, Almudena, we are 30 people. Do we need to save? Say, no, for God's sake, to 3 Scrum teams and put one backlog for portfolio period. So rule number one, don't scale if you don't need to. Rule number two, you have to have Scrum teams in place before you scale these Scrum teams. In order to scale something, you have to have some fundamentals. There has to be something in place in order to grow. And I do have companies seeing this and saying, oh yes, we don't have a Scrum yet, but let's do it everything in one go. SAFe and Scrum, come on, no? The teams will get it. It's not that difficult. And this is a lot is bringing a lot of hassle. And we face a lot of serious problems of very confused teams. So give the chance the Scrum teams to grow, to mature. And when you have mature Scrum teams, say, okay, now let's scale them. Let's move into SAFe. Now, love this picture because it gives a lot of what we have mentioned so far. We have the expectations of management that SAFe is going to solve my problems. We have the real problem we have, which we might not really know which one that is. And then we have the possibilities what the framework brings with it. And we see that the common area is very small. So from what SAFe can do to what management expects and to which problem we're trying to solve, you might have completely different situation. And then people complain about SAFe. SAFe is terrible. SAFe didn't solve our problem. I say, well, maybe it was not SAFe what you needed in the first place. So if I take a wall and I take a pen and I try to put a nail on the wall and I don't make it with a pen, it's not the fault of this beautiful, excellent pen. I took the wrong framework to solve one problem. What I need is a hammer. But my management gave me the pen and expected me to do the job. So that is the problem we're facing with SAFe. Poor SAFe is not wrong. Is that we are not really clarifying what's the problem we want to solve. And there are huge management expectations out of seeing this slide and saying, oh yes, I'm going to introduce this. And in a few months we're SAFe. Now, what is our challenge? Again, another article, this time from Harvard Business Review. Here is really beautiful said that it's not a need for better methodologies what we have. No, it's not that we have bad SAFe and we have to do a better SAFe. We do have empirical evidence of the benefits of agile methodologies. The problem we have is the behavior of executives. So we have to work on the mindset of our managers that they really know what's the problem we're facing before putting a methodology in place. Once this is clarified, SAFe could be what you need because SAFe is a great thing. But we have to first do our homework before calling for a SAFe transformation. Now, what is happening out there? Have we been doing everything wrong and now we're going to do it right? No. It's not that we did everything with waterfall was terrible. Now agility is going to be great. Waterfall was an excellent way of working for the 20th century and it helped a lot of companies to stay where they are now. The problem we're facing is what brought us here won't get us there. So far, waterfall was a great help. Now we need something else. And it seems that business agility is by today the answer. Maybe in 2 years we'll have something else. Before we move into questions and answers, I told you I was going to keep it short and crispy to have the opportunity to discuss. I wanted to mention this conference going on in May in Germany, but it's in English, of course, the Business Analysis Day, where I will be holding there 4 hours workshop on the Scaled Agile Framework if you want to know some more details. And if you're interested in some courses, just contact me or look into my webpage where our courses running. I will be delighted also to go into your company. And now I will really like to move to any questions you might have.
Fantastic, and a really, really useful and punchy and concise intro there. So I'm sure we'll have lots of questions. So as a reminder to everyone who's attending live, you can type in your questions to the Q&A window, and we'll cover as many questions as we can in the time that we have left. So our first question is quite a chunky one. What would you say the difference is between business agility and agile as a methodology?
Oh my God.
How long have we got?
May I go? may I Google?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, Agile. Agile is based on the Agile Manifesto. Agile Manifesto 2001 in Utah, USA. 17 men, 16 Americans and one Holland guy got together in Utah for some beers, skiing, and in order to change the world of the software development. Software development was heavy, and they realized they needed something adaptive. And they sat together for 2 days, and what came out was the Agile Manifesto. Agile is just 4 values and 12 principles. That is Agile. 4 beautiful values. If you Google Agile Manifesto, they are there. And 12 principles, which are based on software, but by now we are taking the word software away, putting the word product, and you can use it in any sector. That is Agile, or business agility is expanding the Agile principles which have been introduced over 10 years, now 19 years actually, in the IT, to all organizations or to all departments or areas of any enterprise. We are handling now, we speak about Agile HR. We're working a lot with human resources departments. We're sitting together with the finance departments. I was also sitting together with patent departments. There are strongly legal regulations there. You cannot be agile as you might want. So we are now sitting together with any other departments, support functions, which are not IT, to make sure we have one organizational agility, the complete company going in one direction, not 2 velocities, the IT and the rest running behind. So that will be, for me, from my private point of view, the difference. I hope it was a good answer.
Yeah, it was. It actually overlaps with another question that's just come in, which is, it's a fairly lengthy question, so I'll try and just trim it down a little bit. But the gist of the question is around how we can be truly agile as an organization if the organization's finance team has fixed budgets and fixed timescales. And I suspect you will have come across this time and time again.
Yes, and at this point, I'm going to go to a Scaled Agile Framework. You have here, I won't say now we have the solution for that, but we have given some thoughts. I mean, I was 7 years in the Scrum team, and I ran in the situation. I was working 22 years for Ericsson, and Ericsson was 2011 one of the first companies to say we have to go agile. So we had the Scrum teams, and it's actually what you said. We were working agile, but the budgeting was still yearly, and it was a bit of confusion. So we were between some walls. And if you see here, you have here lean budgets.
Yes.
That is the approach which SAFe has gone through. And I really like it because you cannot go anymore for yearly budgeting. You cannot decide in January what we're doing in November. By that point of time, the 3 customers jumped away and 3 new came in. So SAFe goes into quarterly budgeting, which is at least a very, it's more agile than before, put it this way. And it's also an interesting way. You don't bring the people to the projects, but the money to the product to the value streams. So you set up value streams, these agile release trains you have here, down here, where all the people who work well together, they are kept together. We don't have these cost centers where are distributed, and when the project is gone, people are distributed again. And the money lean budgets are distributed between the value streams. So we are working on this financial aspect, but it is right. Over many years, we had IT departments beautifully running in agility, while the finance department was in the 18th century.
Yes, yes, yes.
Absolutely.
So a challenge to overcome, and I think what that question and what your answer there's highlighted is that it's an organizational problem and an organizational wide change. It's not just about, as you said at the very beginning, it's not just about the technology. It's about a transformation in the truest sense of the word.
Yeah, we oriented the company not towards projects, but toward products. We have some products or services which our customer is delighted about, and that is the direction we have to go for. And in an agile release train is anybody involved who might have a relation to this product, not only the pure development, maybe some support functions, maybe somebody from financial, anybody who has a relation is included in this value stream. So we are breaking the silos, very strong about SAFe, concretely, about agility and such. And that really affects you guys, business analysts, where we began talking to each other, development and business analysis. We have to break that silos. Over so many years, business analysis has thrown over the fence requirements document. Mine used to be 300 pages, and and it was the Bible. And now we are going in a more of a co-creation between business analysts and developers and testers. What is the problem we have to solve for our customer? Everybody has different information, and we are, for example, pushing for business analysis being part of the development teams.
Absolutely, that co-location, that co-creation, that shared mental models and shared understanding is so important. And as you say, throwing a 300-page document over a fence, that's probably never going to end well.
We did manage a couple of projects.
yeah. I mean, I guess there are still potentially situations, if it's contractual, where that might be necessary. But okay, so a couple of more really useful questions coming in. In fact, lots of questions coming in now. So our next question is: you mentioned Scrum of Scrums was suitable for up to about 100 people. What would you say the minimum size that SAFe is aimed at would be?
The minimum size, from my experience, I would say 100. But I'm careful. My experience is until 100 and over 100, you have there the point between a Scrum of Scrums and SAFe. But you can already, with 100 people, introduce some elements from SAFe. So these basics, these fundamentals, where you see the word team down there in the graphic, we can implement that quite well with 100 people. But if you say, no, we are not going to SAFe, we are for the first doing Scrum of Scrum, I said, it's also good. So main thing, we're solving your problem.
Yeah. Different problems, different contexts, different solutions. So, okay. So another question has been asked around: how can you check that your agile practice is actually agile, not just agile on paper, having morning stand-ups, but actually running mini waterfalls? I think this is a great question, because let's face it, we've all seen this, and you very very articulately expressed that get Scrum working well before you get SAFe. So how do we make sure that it's not just people going through the motions of Scrum? Great question.
Yeah, I've seen it all. I must say, I've seen it all. I could make you cry. And I've seen also the most excellent implementation. So, but I've seen really, and I mean, of course, you can have a Scrum implemented in a very hierarchical way, and you can have Scrum implemented in a very agile way, completely dependent on the mindset of the company and completely dependent on the mindset of the management. So that's where we have, I like a lot to run courses with management, like agile management courses. I'm also Management 3.0 facilitator, because those are the first people I have to get on the boat to secure Scrum and Safe is going to done really agile. But of course, the culture is always very strong. So if you don't have the management on the boat, they will manage to have a hierarchical Scrum and hierarchical Safe, which produce a lot of frustration with the teams. How do we secure that we are doing a good job? I strongly recommend to get the best enterprise agile coach, so to put in executive level, department level, team level, hire the best agile coaches you can find. Enterprise agile coach, I have a very good friend of mine in Barcelona, just joined an international company as enterprise agile coach, and he's been now 6 weeks there. My goodness, what he has moved in 6 weeks, because he moved as an agile enterprise coach in the company and told him, what shall we do now? No, so we know we have to improve. Tell us. And he's good. And he's smooth. So I'm impressed how much change he can introduce in this company within 6 weeks. So hire the best agile coaches you can find. Don't save money in Scrum Masters. And now, naturally, a bit stupid if I said it, but maybe an external consultant can surely support you. So I happen to be one of those.
having the right levels of support, having the right people in the right roles, so really important. Fantastic. Well, we've got 2 very similar questions, so I'll ask them back to back because I think they're asking similar things. The first question is, given the correlation of safe success to business problems and challenges, has there been sufficient time to observe a trend, the emergence of perhaps a taxonomy of business organizational problems and or challenges best served and resolved by the SAFE approach? The second question, which I think is attacking the same sort of question, is you mentioned that SAFE only works when it's solving the right problem. What are the problems that SAFE solves? So I love both of those questions. I think
to be honest, I got a bit confused with the first question. Let's take the second one. Which problem SAFE can solve? I'm going to start with that one, and then you tell me if I missed the first one. What problems SAFE solve? SAFE breaks the silos. That is one of the huge problems we have. No, a very good friend of us, Rainer, was telling me once, Almudena, business analysis has always been agile anyway. He said, it could be, but we only got a requirements document over the fence. So we didn't have a clue how you were working. Now you can tell me you were working agile. But we didn't notice. Yep. So we first have to break the silos. These teams are here, what you see here, development team with product owner, Scrum Master. SAFE enforces very much that we break all the silos through the complete change of production from the very moment the customer asks for something until he gets it on his hand, until it's in production, that we try to go as cross-functional as possible. We might need somebody from procurement because of legal regulation in the teams. Then maybe he has to join there. And that is something really fantastic because we not only have development and testing, we need more cross-functionality. As Mary Poppendick always beautifully says, we need a team of engineers who solve problems. Not a bunch of developers and testers who get user stories from the left and give some product to the right. So we expand the power of the teams. That is one great thing of SAFE. Second problem that SAFE solves is collaboration, coordination, and communication. And this is the beauty of SAFE. I know when you see this graphic, it's very difficult to fall in love with it. But if you see this yellow column which says program increment PI planning, every 3 months, 2 days, everybody involved in an agile release train, which might be around 100 people, get together face to face and plan together in one room. I was last week with a company in Sevilla doing this for the next 3 months. All questions are solved, all dependencies are clarified. Anybody who has information for this product joins personally. So by having 2 days everybody together, you solve a lot of open question meetings, clarifications. I cannot reach the BA. He doesn't give me the answer. I sent him an email. You try to reduce that to the maximum extent because everybody meets every 3 months together face to face in a big room. So that is really excellent. The experience being there, seeing product management speaking to business experts, speaking to some developers, and one guy from DevOps running around, everybody communicating what's the problem we're trying to solve for the next 3 months and how we're going to do it.
That's fascinating. So you mentioned that potentially that's 100 people.
Yeah.
I'm just. This is a question from me. I'm just really fascinated. How does the mechanics of that work? Because 100 people, just coordinating communication between 100 people in one place, that's a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, and you do have a role in this RTE, release train engineer. That is some sort of overall agile facilitator for the complete train, and he moderates, he takes care of the agenda. Of course, the agenda can very quickly run out of control if you don't have a clear facilitation, and that is this role who really take care of that. SAFE has a training for these people especially to secure you have the most value out of these 2 days. So these people are really trained for that because, of course, it's expensive to have 100 people fly in and meet somewhere, but you save so much effort of coordination later on. So you clarify so much beforehand. Apart from the fact that meeting face to face, this guy who has been sending mails from months really changed the character of the communication.
It's a really great point, isn't it? I don't know about you, but I always find once I've met someone in person,
Yes.
it's easier to work with them remotely. And in fact, I remember meeting someone a while back who said the rule of thumb they use is always use the highest fidelity communication that's available. So if you can do face-to-face, do face-to-face. If you can't do that, you can do video, do video. If you can't do that, but you can do audio, do audio. Only use like email if for those,
There's nothing else there.
For those tricky things. Obviously, email still has a place. Fantastic. Okay, so our next
number three aspect with the problems with SAFE solves is this lean budgeting. So I will strongly recommend go to this page and read it, because it's another 3 things where say here we all have a problem and SAFE has a possible solution. So I mentioned 3 of them, which I personally think are 3 highlights where see here SAFE can help you.
Fantastic. So the silos, the coordination, the collaboration, and the lean budgeting, which I think are all areas that many organizations are struggling. So that's fantastic. So our next question is one that I predicted would come up, given we've got some a whole bunch of BAs on the line here. And the question is, in SAFE, there is an analyst at the team level, but not at the program, solution, or portfolio level. As a business analyst, what are you seeing as enterprise go SAFE? Does the business analyst title or role go away, and do they move into other roles like product team? Or do they keep the business analyst title and push it into the framework? So in summary, this is about where the BA role sits within SAFE.
Yeah, let's put it so. Where the heck are the BAs?
Yeah.
I was expecting that question. Yeah, where are the BAs? Where are the project managers? Where are the managers? No, so SAFE is called hierarchical. I see no management. So exactly, BAs and project managers, BAs and managers are the ones who always come up to me and say, Almudena, where are we here? Yes, and here it's very important to separate role and responsibilities.
Yes, yes.
So the classical role as such is not foreseen. The responsibilities are there. We cannot say we are agile, we have no BA anymore. On the contrary, it's BA is getting more and more complicated. No, I wrote last week, I published an article in InfoQ about business anthropology, about sociologists, anthropologists in the companies to really feel what the customer needs from the anthropological way. So business analysis is getting more and more complex. So it's not less, it's more. So what we believe is, and really SAFE tells you, you need product management, you need architectural support, and you need organizational release train engineering, exactly what you said, the coordination of these PI planners has really to have very clear agenda, and there's somebody who organizes that. We have somebody taking care of the architecture, because if we have no architectural vision, code can get very nasty. And we
Yeah.
have product management. Product management is responsible to have all information we might require. What I've seen in many areas and in many sectors, that product management is a virtual team behind. Of course, one person has the responsibility, but you might have very different people supporting product management. So that is one level where I think PA, the responsibility is there. Whether we still call it business analysis, we have so much movement now in the companies, we have so much reorganization and change that many classical roles are dying, so news are coming up. And I do have some people calling me up or writing LinkedIn, Almudena, how should I call myself? which titles shall I give myself? So people who, when I listen to them, I say, you are jack of all trades for the product. It's like, well, I cannot put that in the business card. So, so we have a lot of new roles which are difficult to define, because the classical project management, the classical business analysis is not in a silo anymore, but responsibilities are there. So we have some business analysis responsibility in the teams, whether we have a business analysis there or some team members with knowledge. It's whatever you might want. And product management needs this information. How this is handled.
And I mean, one topic that is far too broad for us to get into here, but there's a good debate in the BA community about the similarities and overlap between business analysis and similar, but different but overlapping roles. So, you know, there are lots of conversations about business analysis and product management, or business analysis and product ownership, and there's more and more conversations about T-shaping. So having a functional specialism, but actually being able to coordinate. And it strikes me that Agile generally, but SAFe in particular, that T-shaping seems so very important. The ability to be I've heard people call it like a specialist generalist or a specialized generalist.
Whatever we might want to call it. But I've seen different constellations. I've seen we had in the telecommunication, in product management, we had 8 people. Because you needed knowledge about security. I mean, when you're speaking on the phone, you don't want the hacker. We need people with virtualization knowledge. We are having a lot of virtual nodes now in telecommunications. We needed people with customer knowledge, really from product line. What does the customer need and is he ready to pay for? We needed people, so we had so many aspects from business analysis. So we had a bunch of experts behind the back of this product management. How do you set up in your company? How you call the roles? It's completely up to you. Of course, I will say, my God, think of the responsibilities and not on the roles. But when you try to hire somebody, you have to give a description, and then you try to give him a name. So we are running into the velocity of change is pushing us to a situation where people know what they have to do and they don't know how to call it.
Yeah, absolutely, which is a challenge that I think the next decade will be interesting to see how jobs and careers evolve generally.
We're speaking a lot at Agile conferences on this issue, so it's not only business analysis which are confused. And if I think of myself, I'm business agility consultant. This role did not exist 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm going to be called in 5 years. I might be something else. So we have to accept and let go that we have a role for life.
Yeah.
And that hurts. I've always been business analysis. Well, yes, we might have to do something else now. And for some of us, we're not millennials. It hurts. It hurts to say that my role is gone. So yeah, look for a new opportunity. It's there. The opportunity is there. So we need the knowledge of business analysis.
And that's a really interesting observation, because I was thinking about some other things you said about, management of the 18th century or 19th century. And actually, you think about the changes that happened in the 20th century where it became normal that you didn't have a job for life. Whereas perhaps in the first part of the 20th century, that was pretty normal. You joined a company, you stayed there forever. In the second half, or the second quarter of the 20th century, that changed a lot. And I think your observations are a really interesting one, actually. Maybe now we don't have a specialism for life. Maybe in fact, roles will come and go, because the world is moving. You know, the velocity of change is so fast, the veracity of that change, that we much as our organizations need to be adaptable, we need to be adaptable.
Yeah, and I really like, I always mention Mary Popendick, which is one of the greatest lady of the agility world. I had the honor to be with her in April in Ireland, and she's amazing. And she always speaks about a team of engineers solving the problem of the customer. Now, once you identify the problem we're trying to solve, then you might think, what knowledge, what skills do I need? So then they have to be in the team. So they have to be part of the team, and then let the people alone, say, that's the problem you have to solve, do it. How you want to call them
is a different topic altogether. So good. Okay, fantastic. So our next question is possibly a really big question, and it might be one that you want to either defer or point people towards a resource, because the question is, what is the difference between safe and less? So
okay, I can make a summary. I can make it's very, very short summary, but you are right, I won't go into details. I took the course I'm less practitioner. I took the course with Greg Larman, who is the author of, together with Boss, they both are the authors from Less, and I really waited until Greg was in Europe to take the course with him personally. I met Greg 2011 in Ericsson, Shanghai. I mean, I was really impressed by him. And I do think the creators from Less are excellent agilists, and I do think that Less is a great thing. I learned a lot with the course, and if the company asks me for a Less implementation, I will be delighted to support them. Having said that, Less requires a lot of discipline. Less, and I asked Greg how many people could be in a Less setup, and he answered, the biggest company we coached with Less was 4,000 people.
Oh, wow.
That already gives you a hint. If you have 20,000, 30,000, maybe Less a bit hard.
Yeah.
I won't go deep into Less, apart from the fact that I admire the work from Greg, and I do think it's a good thing. But I personally, from my own experience, and that is my opinion, I see Less very difficult to implement when you have a huge legacy, when you have a monolithic architecture, which you are bringing in from the 20th century, when you have people with a mindset, I would say a company with average age 50 a bit. Difficult to put Less in place due to the legacy.
So the kind of, I mean, to take some clients that perhaps I and you have probably worked with, where if you've got a financial services company where their main application or one of the main applications is a COBOL batch system, that would perhaps be one that maybe wouldn't work with.
Could be difficult. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I personally, from my experience of knowing both.
Yeah.
If you have a startup which had a huge success, and then we are 20, we're going to scale to 200, and we want to try Less, I would say, go for it, try it. Could be what you need. No? So it really requires a lot of discipline, and I do see it's difficult with the legacy behind. That is my personal experience. Somebody else had a different. I will always happy to learn. I know very little success stories with Less, and if you saw the percentage of companies doing it is 3%.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, I'm going to go shortly back because it's really an important question. The very beginning, when I was showing this graphic from there, Less is 3%. We have it here, 3%.
Yeah. Interesting.
So it is not easy to implement Less. It needs a lot of discipline.
Okay, so we still have questions coming in. So I will cover as many as we can in the time that we have remaining. So our next question, and I hope I'm interpreting this question correctly. Instantly, if you ask this question, and if I'm interpreting it incorrectly, if you type a clarification in, I'll read it out. But the question is, how do you manage service introduction activities in SAFe? And by that, I'm interpreting that to mean, ultimately, if we're implementing some form of process or service, there will be some transition activities in actually implementing and letting people know that service is there. So how do we handle those kind of transition type service introduction activities?
Service introduction. I mean, some trouble to try to identify what is really meant by which sector that will support me to understand it. Service introduction can be several different things. So I hope I don't give the wrong answer. In case somebody has some detailed question, I mean, feel free to contact me over LinkedIn or my email address. Absolute no issue. But right now, to be honest, I have difficult to understand what could be service introduction.
Yeah. So maybe if that person drops you a line directly, then
yeah, maybe the sector will give me some hints.
Okay, so I've just had a clarification from that person. So they're saying it's around transition. Okay, I understand now. I understand. Thank you for the clarification, for typing that in. So the essence of what I think they're saying is, with Waterfall, you have a launch date. And you can have an implementation plan, you can have a communication plan where you say, right, this thing is now live, whereas SAFe is more continuous. So how do you manage that transition, that communication, that bringing it live?
Okay, now I got it. Now I got it. Thank you very much. If you see here in the middle of the graphic, there's this continuous delivery pipeline. So we are working in increments. These thin yellow lines are increments. Very important, all teams are synchronized. So it's not one team has one 10 days sprint, the other team has 1 week sprint. SAFe synchronize the company. So we will deliver every 2 weeks some value, and we integrate it automatically. If you're doing properly SAFe, you have automation in place. That's also a huge thing. It's not the DevOps team at the end. So some companies say, oh, we have a DevOps strategy. You say, what? You know, the ops team, now it's DevOps. You say, okay, fantastic, great. It sounds like a strategy. And SAFe very much enforced, you put into production every 2 weeks and you integrate the whole software together with continuous deployment strategy. It's a lot of automation tools requires, a lot of collaboration. So we always have a deliverable ready. This ready means whenever the customer needs it, wants it, or requires. It might be a huge event, a commercial event. It will be some marketing issues. Would be a requirement of the customer. He wants now an update. So if you see here, it stays release on demand. So we work continuously. We have always in pre-production a prepared version ready for release, but you wait for whatever either the marketing department says. I mean, you will never see a new handy being released in January because everybody waits until the end of February for the World Mobile Congress. So you might have some of aspect of marketing commercially, or the customer wants to see the new product once a year for whatever reason, security it might be. It's sector complete different. Amazon is deploying every 11 seconds. Fantastic. So Amazon owns his product. So if we have to bring the product to the customer and we have to put a node in the telecommunications network or an LTE network in a town where 100,000 people are calling, it might be a bit difficult to put release every second day. So very much depending on the sector and the customer, you are always ready to release. And that is something decoupling within SAFe very good. Yes, automation, yes, pre-production, always ready to go, but release on demand.
Absolutely. That's a really useful analogy, that it's continually ready, but release when the customer wants it and needs it. So got that sort of cadence. So okay, so our final question, and there are some questions that we haven't been able to answer. Are you happy if people email you with any questions that we've been unable to answer?
Sure, challenge me. I like it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I mean, this is really. There are lots of interaction, which is always a good sign. So I'll pick one final question, and it's a really tricky question, but it's a good one to end on, which is you mentioned that we might see a shift to something else in the next 2 years. Any idea what that might be? What's the next trend? Tell us.
Very good question. Very interesting question. You mentioned I'm a speaker regularly at Agile, DevOps, and Lean business analysis conferences. Even business analysis invite me, with great honor. And what's important about joining a conference, about part of giving your talk and presenting yourself and your company, is that you listen to everybody else. So I'm going to join now 18th of October in London. If anybody's around, Agile Tour London is taking place 18th of October. Excellent agility conference. And when you go to an Agile conference, you listen to everybody and you see what's cooking out there, what's going on, what's happening. I mean, 10 years ago, some people already mentioned, now we are post-agilists. I said, post what? Post who? So there have been, over the last years, every once in a while, somebody comes with a new hype. And of course, you run into the talk to listen what's coming. And after 45 minutes, say, no, it's the same thing as always with a new name. Fine, let's go out again. So we are keeping an eye open. There is a lot going on, but nothing really where I could say it's serious and that's going to be the next. It's impressive that agility is 19 years old. So, and we didn't find anything new yet. I mean, everybody's trying to find something new. There is a big movement called TEAL, T-E-A-L. A guy called Alux has written a book, TEAL, about organizations. Very interesting one, interesting one, about quite a lot of companies worldwide in complete different sectors working completely without management. So it is very impressive. And we thought some years ago this was going to get through. Didn't yet. We have to bring management to agility before we move on to the next step.
Yeah.
So TEAL is there, but it's not that far yet. But still, I would say if you want to see behind agility, take a look at Lalux, reorganizing. Trying to recall the name of the book, but you say TEAL Lalux, you will find it. And the cases he analyzed, the companies he visited, the factories somehow, or a nurses association in Holland, really impressive examples, which is worth reading. And I'm following up, but I guess before getting to Mars, we have to get to the moon.
Yeah, it's a step by step. So, and a lot can change. So, well, fantastic, and thank you so much. Time has beaten us, as it always does on these webinars. There are still some unanswered questions, but please do, drop. Almudena's very kindly said that you can drop her a line. So, just a few final things for me to say in closing. Firstly, a massive thank you, Almudena, for taking the time to be here today. I know that, we first met at a conference in Frankfurt, and I just remember I was presenting in the room first and you were presenting after, and the layout was wrong. And you helped me sort that out because we both wanted the same layout. And I was like, we get on, we need to collaborate. So I was really pleased we found a way to bring your story and your message to a different audience. To everyone who's on the line, thank you very, very much for attending and for all of the questions that you've added. There will be our next webinar is in fact on the 10th of October, and a different topic. We'll be looking at the BA career path. And in fact, we've got an expert panel with myself and 4 other speakers, each of whom are going to have a different aspect of the BA career path to talk about. So do put that in your diary. And in fact, when you close this webinar down, you'll get the option of registering straight away. I anticipate that one may well fill up very quickly, so do grab your space while it's available. Almudena mentioned a whole range of conferences, just a plug for a couple of other conferences. If you are based in, or if you can get to South Africa, there's the BA Summit Southern Africa, which is happening, in fact, next week. Really, really innovative conference. It's in Cape Town this year. Do look it up. Always a highlight of the BA career. And then the following week, it's the BA Conference Europe, which is held in London. So do check that out as well if you're UK based or Europe based. So all that's left for me to say is a big thank you to everyone. Of course, a big thank you to you, Almudena, and hope to see everyone again soon.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention you can go to the webpage of my company, and that you can reach my email address in case any question was open.
Absolutely, absolutely. And are you happy for people to connect on LinkedIn as well?
Of course, of course. Welcome.
Excellent. Well, thanks once again, and yeah, see you all soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.